Hey, it's Willie Armellini from Flowers and Scents with your industry buzz. Today, we're going to interview Loes van der Tolen. And Loes is the managing director of Pagter. Pagter makes Proconas. And if you're listening to this and you're in the flower business, everybody has touched Proconas at one level, the plastic buckets that are reusable and come in all sorts of shapes and sizes and colors. So without further ado, Loes van der Tolen. Okay, so Loes van der Tolen, is that right?
Yes, Willie, your Dutch is perfect.
Okay, so I'll conclude with a goeiemiddag. So, and hoe gaat het? And yeah, I like my little bit of Dutch anyway. It gets me a long way when I go to Holland. So, but of course, beyond that, I'm pretty stuck. Other than saying Schiphol, airport. That's a really hard one.
Well, that's important when you want to go home.
And when you want to go home, you go to Schiphol. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you are the managing director of Pagter, and Pagter is making Proconas.
That's right. Pagter makes Proconas now for 30 years already.
Yes, and it's French, am I right? Is that a French name, Pagter? Is it Dutch?
No, it's a very Dutch name.
Okay.
It comes from Jan de Pagter, the founder of our company. And Jan was a grower and a trader in flowers, and he was the first marketeer before the word marketing was known in Holland of Flora Holland flower auction. And Jan saw that flowers left greenhouses in perfect condition, but by the time they had reached the consumer, they had often lost a lot of their quality. And he wanted to do something about that. So out of his passion for quality, the Procona was born. And Willie, do you know what Procona stands for?
No clue.
Okay. Procona stands for from producer to consumer in aqua.
Ah, okay.
It's actually a packaging to transport flowers in water from the producer all the way to the consumer. And because they have water and ventilation through the lid, that maintains the quality of the flowers.
Huh. Well, we know that shipping flowers in water, there's controversy about that, but for the most part, I believe everybody believes it's a good solution if you can do it. It's not always practical because airlines don't, hauling water is not a good idea. So, but they do it.
We have a solution even for airlines for that, but that's a quite deep discussion maybe for some other time.
Okay. So I would say that somewhere between 1992, although I would have thought it would be older than that, frankly, maybe because I'm getting old, somewhere between 92 and 94, Jan called me and asked me, as I think I was president of Armellini at the time, if I wanted to be his distributor in America. And I said no, because we weren't really in the distribution business of that kind of distribution of warehousing and doing those things. So I believe I said no. I'm not sure I regret the decision or not, but anyway, obviously he found other people to do it and came a long way. And as I said in my introduction here, that pretty much everybody in the flower, if you're in the flower business, sooner or later, you've touched the Procona.
That's right. And yes, you're correct. It must have been 1994, because that's about the time that we had our first clients in the US. And with Procona, that enabled growers on the West Coast to ship their flowers in good condition to the East Coast. That's how it all got started. And after growers in the US, we also got clients like wholesalers, like Delaware Valley. Let me show you their Procona.
Yeah, they. I think you mentioned that they have their own. Okay, so pretty colors, property of DB. Okay.
With a barcode. There's a barcode on that because they rotate. We'll get back to that later, maybe. And yeah, it started with just the quality for flowers, and but also it's a system where if you are working with wet pack, you can save a lot of money compared to a bucket in a box.
A bucket in a box. Yeah, because the bucket, what's the only thing worse than having plastic is having a bucket in a box that you have to throw away, which is essentially what happens when you have a bucket in a box. It gets to the consumer or the wholesaler, retailer, somebody, they take it out of the bucket, then maybe they reuse it. Chances are it ends up in the landfill.
Yes, well, I hear you say the only thing worse than plastic. I don't agree with that.
Well, we can talk about that, but okay. Yeah, I'm glad to see that you mentioned that these are recyclable. Well, recyclable in the sense that you can reuse them. It's a good bucket, so you can reuse them. Not everybody, obviously, they end up at the wrong place in a sense. They end up at the retailer or the wholesaler, and they got to get back into the system somehow. So how are you arranging that, or how are people doing that?
Yes, well, for instance, Delaware Valley, where I just showed you their blue Procona with the barcode on, they actually use that barcode to track and trace the Proconas. And when the Procona is empty with the next delivery of flowers, they take the empty one back. And they use it again and again and again. And our retail clients in Europe, we have a lot of experience with that. They have a system, they buy a pool of Proconas and they reuse them. And the cycle is about 18 to 20 days from flower supplier to the distribution center, to the stores, back to the distribution center, to the company that manages the pool and washes it and redistributes it to the flower suppliers. That cycle is about 19 to 20 days. And they use the Proconas for about 3.5 to 4 years. So imagine that for 3.5 to 4 years, you do not buy and dispose of cartons, buckets, and in the US, liners. That's a lot of savings, but it's also a lot of savings for the planet.
Yes, indeed. And I noticed the collars. So you have a bucket and you have a collar and you have a lid. Yes.
Right. Yes. And with that collar, you determine the height of the pack.
Right.
Let me show you why the Procona is rectangular and why that is important.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you can see this, but
I can.
This is
a bucket in a box, sort of.
Yeah, this is a round bucket in our medium-sized London Procona that is used for retail. And as you can see, all these corners, when you ship flowers in a round bucket, you still need a box around it, but you're not using these corners.
Oh.
Like flowers. So that's one little thingy that helps reduce the cost of transport, and with that the cost of CO2 output.
So you're maximizing the use inside the box, basically.
Absolutely, and as with your logistical background, that should appeal to you, really.
Anything that stacks nice and square is a beautiful thing.
Okay, well, this stacks nice and square. Sorry if I keep running away.
That's okay.
So this is a stacked Procona, and as you can see, it's very solid. It doesn't slide off. And also there is room for the ventilation through the lid. And the colors come in many heights, so that you can always cater for any stem length, and you're not driving around air.
Right. You just increase the size of your collar, and then you can accommodate a 50, 60, or 70 centimeter rose or flower.
We've done some pack trials in the US with your buckets and boxes, which are different from what we use in Europe, of course. And we see that our London Procona holds just as many flowers as the bigger bibs, as you call them. So you have less floor space in the truck. That means better loading grade of the truck, less CO2 output, but also in store where square footage is important, you can show more flowers on a smaller surface.
As with my trucking background, the Procona is is great because, first of all, it's got lots of room for labels because the boxes we handle these days, boxes have begotten smaller and smaller and smaller packages, trying to get them, less touching as they get to the consumer, or at least to the retailer. But what that ends up with is a very small box with whatever, maybe 100 flowers in it or something, that's got very little real estate to put labels on. And everybody has to put a label on. The grower puts a label, the airline puts a label, everybody's putting a label on. And suddenly you have no room on the end of the box. At least with a Procona, you have a lot of real estate.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I never thought of it that way. But when I think of a distribution center for a supermarket, I can imagine that it must be quite a puzzle to put pallets for the stores together with all those different sizes of boxes.
Indeed.
And then when the goods come in the morning and they have to pack it in a certain sequence, and they start with the flowers and then they end up with the beer. What do we do? With Procona, that's no problem because you have always one floor size, and you can stack the different heights, but your footage is always the same, and it is so strong that you can actually put the beer on top.
Important. Hey, I noticed that the Procona sort of looks a lot like an Ellesmere bucket. I'm sure he must have the buckets you see that are in Ellesmere. The buckets they use.
Bucket. Do you think so?
Well, they're square and aren't they similar?
Yeah, the auction buckets are what we call the skirt model. They are like that, and Procona exaggerated is like that.
That's true.
So it's the contrary, actually. And the auction buckets you cannot stack.
You can't stack. Yeah.
You can't stack. So yeah.
Okay, I'll get on that one.
The only thing that they have in common is that they're rectangular.
Okay, well there you are. There's some common ground. I got to think the fact that is your main clientele Europe.
Yeah, Europe is big for us. UK is still Europe, although they have separated themselves from mainland Europe.
Yes, they have.
UK is an important country for us with retail, but also the USA. Since 1994, we have been present in USA, and we have an office in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and warehouses in Pennsylvania, in Miami, and in California.
Yes, so you've got a good footprint.
And
my point was that the Europeans are much sort of ahead of the US in terms of recycling and the use of plastic and the reuse of plastic and so forth. And that's probably good for us here in the US because you're learning those lessons there. And again, they're way ahead of us in that respect. So chances are, you're headed down the right path in that respect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sustainability is a big thing here. We have also moved. We have built a new building where I'm sitting now.
Yes.
Which is completely green. We have natural gas in Holland.
Okay.
But this is heated without gas. Yeah, it's with special. I don't know the English word, but it's in the ground. We exchanged.
Geothermal.
Right, geothermal heating and cooling.
Really?
Everything is green. Wow. And also all the supermarkets in Europe, they have very severe sustainability goals. And that actually works in our favor because it's normally very hard to get the attention of supermarket buyers.
Yeah.
And to be able to get into a really meaningful conversation with them. But now, because Procona can help them achieve their sustainability goals and save money at the same time, that is actually helping Pagter now, that situation. And we, like Jan de Pagter, we're still very passionate about quality and about sustainability. And we also do research how to make our products even more sustainable. And to get back to your remark about plastics.
Yes.
I don't agree with you there because plastic is becomes a problem if people deal with it irresponsibly. Yes,
Okay.
but plastic is bringing us many good things, many savings. We can't imagine this life without plastics anymore. And to translate it to the Proconas, the Procona is a very durable, but also a very strong and practical packaging, which we can also produce with regrind materials. And at the end of its life cycle, it can be fully recycled again. And as I said,
Okay.
it can replace 4 years of disposable packagings.
And in the end, it's because it's white and nice in that respect, it's recyclable. It's one of those plastics that can be recycled.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Well, I think, Loes, the fact that Pagter has been around for 30 years, 40 years?
Yes, 30 years.
It must mean it works, okay? Because you wouldn't be here if this didn't work. And people use them. There's been, I know you have some other people have popped up. There's some competitors that have popped up in different places with different designs, but you've sort of held out this long and been doing it this long and innovating this long. So I think it's important that you've made it this far. It's in life and business, making it this far is not easy.
No, well, thank you. It's we are working very hard on that, and we're never complacent. We're always looking where can we still improve not only our product but also our service, and to be a reliable supplier. For example, when the pandemic hit all of us, it was, you know, really, to be honest, I've never had in my whole career such a long period where things become so unpredictable. Yeah, and yet you have to. I mean, you cannot control what's happening to you, but you can control how you deal with it.
Yeah, you made that statement, which I thought was a very interesting statement. Yes, how you deal with it, right?
And when it hit, and I had to send everybody home here, it was quite apocalyptic at that time. Fortunately, things did not develop as bad as it seemed at that point, but flower business initially was down the drain. You know, after I was sitting in the office alone, and after 2 weeks, I checked, is the phone in plugged at all? You know,
It's not working at all.
And at the same time, we had 6 containers on the water to America. Yeah. And one of our biggest customers stopped doing flowers and they canceled their container.
Ooh.
And the warehouse that we were going to closed down. Yes. So steam out of your ears, and what do we do now?
Yeah, right.
You know?
What now?
I'm really happy and really proud of the team that we have managed all through this crisis to supply our customers. Yeah, and even customers that hadn't been buying from us for some time. You know, we could service everybody, so at least they could continue, and we could take away their worry about packaging. You know, where there was scarcity of everything, we still managed to keep going and to make sure that everybody that deals with us could continue. Beautiful.
All right. Well, as I told you in the beginning, this 20 minutes goes really quick when you're having a nice discussion and talking about these things. So how do people find you? From Pagter.com?
Yes, Pagter. Pagter.
Pagter, yes.
Your Dutch is great, except for our company name. Pagter, really? Pagter.
I'm working on it. I'll have to get that one. It's one of my Dutch words I need to practice.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and you know, I understand we're coming to the end. That's too bad, because time flies when you're having fun. We have more articles than just Procona, of course. So some other time we can talk about that.
That's perhaps another time we can do some more here. If I make them longer than 20 minutes, people don't watch them. So I think they fade out towards the end. So it's important that you know, we keep them short and sweet. And if we do it again, great. Because anyway, it's been good to see you. I see you around the world sometimes.
Thank you.
Nice to see you as always, and thank you. And I'll have this out on Tuesday.
Okay, thank you
All right.
very much. It's been
Okay.
lovely to see your smiling face again. We'll stay in
Okay.
touch.
Tot ziens.
Bye. Tot ziens. Dag.
Dag, doei.
Dag.